UK Student Property or Purpose Built Student Accommodation (PBSA) is the UK's strongest investment platform today, surpassing other traditional real estate classes. Investments in the sector grew from £500 million in 2010 to £6 billion in 2015, twice the amount invested in 2013 and 2014 combined, and an increase of more than 300% over the £1.7 billion invested in 2014 alone. Education remains a huge driver of the British economy, and growth in the student property sector is underpinned by the undersupply of purpose-built accommodation as more students come to the UK to study. Students prefer staying in purpose-built accommodation over rental housing or HMOs, often reserving their space months in advance. We speak to a few students.
What's your name?
Bethan.
Where are you from?
I'm from Yorkshire.
Why do you like to live in student property?
It's with lots of other students, and you get to meet new people.
How is it different, student property from the house?
From living at home.
Yeah, I mean, renting a house then.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just a lot more going on. Like there's a lot more students around, compared to in a house where it would just be you and your flatmates.
How's the rental paid? Is it every quarterly, every 6 months, or 10 months?
It's when our student loan comes in, so it's three times a year.
Right. And do you need a guarantor to basically like a parent?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Right, that's all. Thank you so much. Yeah. Why is student property vital?
It's fun, the community is fun, the room is good and it's worth the money.
Alright, how long you been renting a student property?
Yeah.
A year?
First year.
Right. How long do you have to place the booking in advance to rent a unit?
Probably about 6 months.
6 months. Why student property?
Because you get to live in the city and you get the full experience of student life.
How is different the student property from the house multiple occupied?
The other ones are my first impression wasn't good about the others. This one I liked the first impression only.
Right.
And I like it gives them my own space.
Right.
The houses to get the same price you have to go further out of the city.
Further out of the city.
To get the same, like a decent same pricing, and you have to travel a lot more.
Houses are
More expensive.
more expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How is the rent paid?
It's good.
How do you pay the rent?
Mine was
Is it 3 months, 6 months, or a year?
No, mine is a short-term rental, so I paid it completely in advance.
How is the rental paid? Is it quarterly, 6 months, or 1 year?
It's every 3 months.
Every single quarterly, yeah? Right. Do you need a parent's guarantor to stay in?
Yes.
Right. Alright, that will be all.
Thank you.
What is student property? Student property or purpose-built student accommodation, simply put, is accommodation built with the student in mind. Rooms come fully furnished. Facilities include games rooms, cinema rooms, study areas, concierge, and high security.
One of the first pod areas is our cinema room, which is just to your right. This is probably the most popular room that we have. It gets booked out every single evening. The students absolutely love this. It's complete with Blu-ray player, Netflix, Sky, and now we've got a PlayStation 4 in there as well. So back out into the corridor area, we've got a couple of study rooms. There is one in use just there, and then one that we can go through into. So the study rooms get used a heck of a lot through the day, and they're equipped with controllable lighting again. You've got a TV built in onto the walls that you can use for presentations as well as just, TV if you do. And this is the kitchen dining room. So because the studios are equipped with a kitchen anyway, we designed something that was larger so that when they've got their friends coming over, they want to socialise with a takeaway or they're going to cook Christmas dinner, they've got this space here. And then moving on, you've got kind of the social spaces. loads of different living concepts here. You've got kind of the bar area to your right and the vending machines, and then through onto your TV area, so the living area almost, really cozy. Again, people can put the sports on down here, they can put movies on, whatever it is they want to watch. Some more sort of social concept areas. You've got the sofas with the games. Here's like all this kind of the game and sport area. You've got your ping pong tables, your Vita branded pool table. These are used a heck of a lot through the evening. The students love this area. It seems to be quite a gathering with your friends and relaxing for a few hours area. Toilet facilities as well.
Vita Student, one of the UK's top student property providers, give us an idea of how popular purpose-built accommodation is to students.
So you were saying that for a September rental, you start marketing it in...
Roughly, well, November is rebookings, is it? October is rebookings.
October's rebookings.
Yes, so we sort of, we have a period where, again, it's exclusive to
just the students.
October the year before.
Yes.
So one full year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're pretty much at a 30% booking rate already just by bookings. But overall, I guess you're looking at it's March now, and you've got a 60% occupancy. That includes all of next year's stock.
So basically, we are now ahead of where, so the number, we had about 1,600 apartments that were rentable from last September.
How many, sorry?
About 1,600 in total.
1,600.
We're already past that number for this year.
So you pretty much rented everything.
Yeah, we've now got around 2,500, an extra 1,000 beds.
For investors, student property is an opportunity to earn good income, as there are no additional taxes and rent is paid upfront. The investment is also fully managed by professionals.
As Urban Bubble, we manage the whole building, so we look after all health and safety side, the tenants, and my role here is to build a community so people have events and things to come along to. So we look after the whole portfolio on behalf of Elliot.
What does the management do for the investor
What do you mean, sorry?
in terms of the renting out the units or managed?
So we do absolutely everything. The investor does nothing. So we do, from when the units are completed, we do absolutely everything. So the investor will never ever hear, really they won't hear from the student ever, and they won't really hear from the management company, because the special investor would be if, say, in year 7 or year 8 outside the rental assurance, maybe the chair breaks just because it's reached the natural end of its life cycle. Or we might contact investors and say, right, well, look, we need to replace the chairs or the desks in the apartment now, so you might expect to see £100 coming off your return this year. They don't have to do anything, we just notify them. That's pretty much all the interaction we have.
And how is the rental fee to the investor?
Depending on the development, it's either termly or quarterly years. It's either 3 or 4 times per year.
The popularity of student property as an investment asset is due to its resilience in the face of recession, including Brexit. On a trip to the UK in April this year, our team met with James Pullen of Knight Frank, a leading independent real estate consultancy with more than 300 offices all over the world.
So, I think Brexit's as good a place to start as any.
Yes.
It's quite a significant event.
Yes.
That said, I would suggest that student accommodation is something a little different in that it steps outside of the economic sphere because it's based fundamentally on structural undersupply of housing, combined with Britain being perceived, and I think genuinely is, very good at higher education. And you combine those two things, and the investment is higher education and residential rather than having direct significance from how well UK PLC runs economically.
Sure.
But I suspect the impact it's going to have on how good Britain is at providing higher education will be fairly negligible.
How do you think the sector will perform during this Brexit?
I don't think it will change at all. We have some fairly close ties with some fairly high up people in government that have assured us that there's no change to student market. It's a massive industry in the UK. There is a huge amount of revenue. And especially when you think about the number of people that choose to stay on after they finish university, what that brings to the economy here, they're not going to want to drop the numbers. What they are more cautious of is about 2 years ago, there were a few universities in London that were inviting students in, but actually they weren't studying, they were just coming and then just being in the UK without studying, and that was really frowned upon. So they've cracked down on universities bringing people in and actually not having any courses for them and just operating with them paying a fee and they don't actually teach them anything. But for decent university cities, where there are true universities, you know, like John Moores, like University of Liverpool and all the other Russell Group universities that we're in, they're not going to cut the numbers down. So I think we won't see any change at all. There's always a need for a British education here at the end of the day.
Yeah. Then again, they say UCAS says they have 5 applicants for every seat that they take in, right?
Yeah,
so literally you've got a 4-person waiting for every seat out there.
Now that'll be different depending on each city.
Sure.
If you look, say, at Cambridge and Oxford, they probably have 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to the smaller cities, you might find it's a lot lower that ratio. So I think then it's just dependent on how good the university is.
Yeah.
To be in the right place.
In an interview aired on BFM 89.9, the business station, CSI Properties Cornerstone International spokesperson Virata Tevasigamani talked about the UK student property sector.
The Marketplace on BFM 89.9.
Today we speak to Virata Devasigamani, who's the spokesperson and head of the team of negotiators at CSI Properties, or better known as Cornerstone International. We are looking into UK student property today. So how is this UK student property different from other property types over in the UK then?
Great question. I mean, UK student property or Purpose Built Student Accommodation, it's fully managed, fully furnished, custom built for students. Now, often people speculate on property that can't be rented, and then they end up servicing high loans in hopes of capital appreciation. With UK student property, you get the best of both worlds. Over 8% net rental returns, assured over 5 years, plus capital appreciation. To top it off, David, the contracts are backed by parental guarantees, so the investment is quite secure. Price-wise, very affordable, starting from only 250,000 ringgit. And high-net-worth families, institutional investors can also look at portfolio investments from 10 to 250 million. There's no stamp duty or capital gains tax as well, so it's a true net. You know, it's also Brexit or recession-proof. Education, as you know, David, it's a basic need today. The fact is, more people go back to school when the economy is bad.
True.
Now, with the weaker pound, it's just an easier way to hitch the ringgit, fund your kids' education. And an interesting point, David, is that the investment to this sector has grown tenfold, from 500 million in 2010 to 6 billion in 2015. Don't take it from me. Institutional investors like GIC in Singapore have been investing into this. I would say to our clients, follow the smart money.
Okay, I'm really interested. I've got kids, so I'm about to go there as well.
A Knight Frank has predicted that the UK student property sector will reach a value of £45.8 billion by September 2017, while a rental growth of 2.5% is expected. Hardly surprising then that student property has become one of the fastest growing asset classes in the UK property market.
When you walk out of the building, it always asks you, how is your day, how are you getting on? And that's truly good for people who've moved, from home. They feel really welcome.